Hello everyone, so this is lecture 30 of our subject digital system design, and the topic for today's lecture is DAC specifications, and then we will be covering the first A to D converter. So let's start with the contents: specification, then introduction to ADCs, then type of ADCs, and then flash ADC as the first type of ADC. Okay. So now coming to the specification of DACs. DACs we have already covered in our previous lecture, in which we had seen two types of DACs: weighted resistor and R2R type digital to analog converter. So what are the different specification of these DACs? These are resolution, speed, linearity, settling time, reference voltage, and errors. So let's start with the first one, resolution. So resolution is the smallest analog increment corresponding to 1 LSB change. So if we are moving one step, we are getting one smallest possible increment in the LSB, then corresponding to that, what is the smallest change in the analog value? Okay. So for an n bit resolution, it can resolve 2 raised to power n distinct analog levels. N bit resolution means that we have 2 raised to power n levels. For example, if we are having n is equal to 3, then 3 bit resolution means 2 raised to power 3. That means 8 analog levels can be assigned. Okay. So the common DAC has an 8 to 16 bit resolution. Generally, we find that whenever we are converting a digital value into an analog value, we are having minimum of 8 to 16 bit resolution. Okay. So resolution can be mathematically defined by this formula, which is equal to VLSB, voltage corresponding to the least significant bit, and it is equal to Vref divided by 2 raised to power n. Vref is the reference voltage which is corresponding to 1 high signal. 1 means high. So voltage corresponding to Vref is actually the voltage corresponding to voltage for high input. Okay. So 2 raised to power n, n is the number of bits. Okay. So this is the formula for resolution. So now coming to the speed of your D2A converter is how fast this circuit can convert a digital signal into a analog signal. Okay. Rate of conversion of a single digital input to its analog equivalent. The conversion depends on two factors: clock speed of the input signal and settling time of the converter. Clock speed means how fast the data is able to enter that circuit. Okay. That depends on the clock rate. So higher the clock rate, higher data can be entered, and lower the clock rate, small amount of data can enter the DAC. Then settling time of the converter. Settling time of converter means that the time it will take to settle down. So faster is it settle down, so it will be quicker in response while providing the actual output. Okay. So when the input changes rapidly, the DAC conversion speed must be high. So if our inputs are fast changing, that means this clock must be able to accept all those transitions at the input. So if this clock speed is on the lower side and the rate of change of input is higher, then we will definitely miss on some input data points, and it will lead to distortion in the output. So this clock rate has to be sufficiently high so that all the data transitions at the input side are detected by the circuit and should be converted by the circuit into an analog value. So and the next thing is settling time. So if the clock is okay, then the settling time should be as small as possible so that the circuit is able to respond quickly. And then the third point is linearity. So linearity means the difference between the desired analog output and the actual output over the full range of the expected values. So for all the value, what are we expecting and what we are getting? So if there is any point of difference between the two, then it shows the non-linearity of the circuit, and if it is exactly equivalent or it is nearby equivalent, then we can say that linearity performance of the DAC is good. Okay. So this graph is showing that what we should have been getting and what we are getting are exactly equal. So it is showing a linear graph. So anything if it is not in the linear range or in the or not on the linear curve, then it will lead to non-linearity errors, which we will be covering further. Okay. Then this we can see that this is the ideal case, and this is a non-ideal case in which we can see that these points are getting shifted, so that we are not getting a single straight line, and instead of a single straight line, the points are either above that straight line or below that straight line. So if we connect those points, we are getting some non-linear shape. So this is termed as the non-linearity of a DAC. Okay. So it will directly translate to non-linearity error. Then settling time. So settling time is the amount of time required by the output signal to settle within plus minus 1/2 of the LSB of its final value. So if LSB is 1, then 1/2 is 0.5. So if my output has settled between plus minus 0.5, then we can say that my output is considered, it will be considered settled. We will not be waiting till that point, till it becomes exactly constant. Okay. So from that point of view, it is the definition of settling time, limited by slew rate of the output amplifier. Output amplifier, or we can say in the output amplifier we will be using op-amp based amplifier. Okay. So it depends on the slew rate of the op-amp. Slew rate is actually the how fast a op-amp or a amplifier can change its output per unit time. That is beyond the scope of our subject. So for the time being, we can simply remember it as the higher the slew rate, faster will be the settling time. Okay. So ideally, an instantaneous change in analog voltage would occur when a new binary word enters into a DAC. Whenever a new binary input enters a DAC, then corresponding to that, the circuit will start changing its output, and these changes will be showing something like this. And once these changes have settled within plus minus half of LSB, we will say that this output is stable. We will not be waiting till the exact stable output. If my output is within half LSB, within plus minus, either plus or minus, we will be considering it as a stable output. Okay. Now coming to the reference voltages, it is used to determine how digital input will be assigned to each voltage division. Okay. So this reference voltage can be fixed or can be decided by external source. So in non-multiplier type DAC, non-multiplier means one-on-one relation will be there. There will be no scaling factor. And in case of a multiplier type of DAC, V reference will be provided by external source. So this is the reference voltage characteristic. And then types of error associated with DACs, then gain, offset, full scale, resolution, non-monotonic, settling time, and overshoot. Let's start with these errors. So gain errors. So this occur when the slope of actual output deviates from the ideal output. So the starting point is the same. Okay. Starting point is the same, but the slope is changing. And in case of offset, the starting point is shifted on the y-axis, but the slope is identical. Okay. You can check that slope of all these curves are identical, but there is an offset on the y-axis. And if both these errors are occurring, then it is termed as full scale error. That means there is slope change as well. Okay. There is a slope change as well, and there is starting point shift as well. Okay. So both these issues will be considered in full scale error. Now resolution error. So if we are having higher resolution, that means more number of bits are there, then we will be getting the output which is as close as possible to the actual value. But if the resolution is poor, that means we are using lesser number of bits, then this is what we are getting, actual output, and this was what we should have been getting, desired output. So there is a lot of difference between the actual and desired if resolution is poor, if we are using lesser number of bits for resolution. But if there are substantial number of bits for resolution, then there will be substantial number of levels, and for that substantial number of levels, the actual and obtained will be almost similar. Higher the resolution, greater will be the accuracy of the output. And this non-monotonic error, it occurs when an increase in digital output results in decrease in the analog output. So this will be going drastically wrong. So we were expecting the output to be something like this, but it went down. So this is non-monotonic error. Okay. Settling time and overshoot error. So it is a time required for the output to fall within plus minus half of LSB. Okay. This we have covered in the settling time characteristic as well. So overshoot means this is the overshoot, this we can see that this is the overshoot from the settling time, from the plus minus half LSB. Overshoot occurs when analog output overshoots the ideal output. So this is the expected ideal output and this is the plus minus half LSB range. So anything above that will be considered as overshoot. So as we have mentioned it here. Okay. So till that time it is considered settling time, because it is now after, from this point onwards we can say that from this point onwards the output is in within plus minus half of LSB. Okay. So from here onwards output is plus minus half of LSB. That's why this point of time is termed as TS, settling time. Okay. So this should also be as minimum as possible, and overshoot error should be also as minimum as possible for better performance of the DAC. Okay. So with this we come to the application part, where these DACs are going to be used. It will be used in digital motor control, computer printers, sound equipments, electronic cruise control and digital thermostat. Okay. So these are some of the applications. Now let's proceed towards the ADCs. So A to D converters, as the name suggests, input will be the analog and output will be digital. So what are the basic steps involved in analog to digital conversion? These are the three steps. First step will be sample and hold, second step will be quantization, and third step will be encoding. So this we can see that there is a analog signal, okay, and then sample and hold means that it will be passed through a sample and hold circuit, and some kind of actions will be taken. That sample will be holded until next sample is taken, something like this. Like if this is the analog input, then if there is a sample taken at this point, this point, this point, this one, this one, this one, that means these are the samples. Okay. So by sample and hold means something like this. Until the next sample is taken, that sample will be holded. Okay. Like this. Something like this. Okay. So this is sample, and that sample is holded until the next sample is taken. So this is the basic circuit, sample and hold circuit, in which this switch will decide the sampling time. So faster the switch closes and opens, it will be faster, will be the more samples will be taken. Sorry. So faster the switching speed, greater the number of samples. Lower the switching speed, lesser the number of samples. Okay. And this is a practical circuit which is having one op amp, second op amp, and there is a clock which is deciding the switching. So this is manual kind of switch, but this switch you can see here, this is a digitally controlled switch which is getting controlled by this arrangement. So this decides how fast this switching is going to be performed. So these are the basic sample and hold circuits, simple and practical ones. So after this sample and hold process, the output becomes discrete, but it is still not digital, and once the levels are assigned to these discrete levels, then I can say that my output is now a digital output. Okay. So 0 to V volt is being split into different levels, 1 by 8, 2 by 8, 3 by 8, up to 7 by 8, and these are assigned values 000 to 111. So there are total 8 levels. Okay. So but there is an issue with this. So to minimize the quantization error, we change the first and the last levels to half of the LSB. So in the previous slide we had used 1 by 8, and instead of using 1 by 8, now I am using 1 by 14. Okay. So 1 by 14 for the first level, then 3 by 14, 5 by 14, 7 by 14, and up to 13 by 14. So we have, by doing this, we can actually reduce the quantization error by half. So in that case, my output voltages will be 0 volt, 1 by 7, 2 by 7, 3 by 7, 4 by 7, 5 by 7, 6 by 7. So in this way, we can quantize my output. So we can see that between the two, between this arrangement, in which the maximum error can be 1 by 8. Okay, this maximum error can be 1 by 8, but in this case the maximum error can be 1 by 14. So we have substantially reduced the quantization error if we are able to offset the first and the last point, first and the last level. So by doing this, we are able to reduce the quantization. So this we can see that 1 by 7 and this is 1 by 14. So 1 by 7 minus 1 by 14 will be actually equal to 1 by 14. So maximum error is 1 by 14. That's why we are saying by doing this S by 2 on the first and the last level, we can reduce the quantization error by half. So this is one way by which we can reduce the quantization errors. Okay. So now let's proceed to the main component or main circuit, which is a parallel comparator, or we can name it as flash type A to D converter. Okay. So for this flash type A to D converter, this is the arrangement. So there can be, for 3 bits, you can check that there are 3-bit digital output. For this 3-bit digital output, the number of comparators which we are using in this circuit is 7. So that means 2 raised to power n minus 1. That means where n is equal to 3. Okay. So if we have to design a 4-bit parallel comparator, then we will be using 15 comparators. Okay. And what is this comparison? How the op amp has been used as a inverting configuration or in non-inverting configuration in DACs, but here we are applying both. We are applying input to both the terminals. So in that case, this op amp will be deciding whether the input is greater than or higher than. So if V1 and V2, okay. So if V1 is greater than V2, that means the voltage applied at the negative terminal is higher than the voltage applied at the positive terminal, then output will be 0. And if V1 is less than V2, then output will be 1, high. Okay. So these comparators are going to result in either 1 output or 0 output. Okay. So these 1 and 0 will then be fed to latches. Latches will store that value, and that stored value will be passed to the decoder, and decoder will finally translate that value into a binary output, or we can say digital output. Okay. So this is the input side of this parallel comparator. In this we can see that the positive terminals, all the positive terminals are connected to a common point. So all these positive terminals are connected to a common point, which is termed as VA, where this analog voltage has been applied. Okay. And between the negative terminals there are resistors R, 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 and this one is R by 2 and this one is R by 2. So between the comparators, between the negative terminal of the comparator, there are resistances R by 2, R, and the first and the last resistance are R by 2. Okay. So from that point of view, if we calculate the total resistance, then we can see that if we check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and R by 2 and R by 2 on the above side. So this is actually this kind of arrangement. Okay. So this is R by 2 and this is 13 R by 2. So 6 R are there, that means 6 R and plus 1, 6.5 R. 6.5 means 13 R by 2. Okay. 13 R by 2, and the value applied, the voltage which will be applicable here will be, if we are passing a voltage V here, okay, if we are passing the voltage V here, which is this voltage V, so again if we calculate the voltage across 13R by 2, then it will be equal to V into 13R by 2 upon 13R by 2 plus R by 2. Okay. So if we do this, if we calculate, then we can see that it will be equivalent to V at this point, V13, this point which is named as VR7, because this comparator is, we are naming it as C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2 and C1. So we are actually calculating VR7. So VR7 will be equal to, if we calculate, then it will be, if we solve this, we will be getting 13 by 14 V. Okay. So this is 13 by 14 V. Similarly, if we check at this point, then the above resistance, this resistance will be 3 by 2 R, and the lower resistance, this complete resistance with reference to this point will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 R by 5 R and R by 2, that means 11 R by 2. So from that point of view, if we again apply this voltage divider rule for this VR6, then we will be getting 11 by 14. So we can understand the pattern that we are having 13 by 14, 11 by 14, similarly 9 by 14, 7 by 14, 5 by 14, 3 by 14 and 1 by 14. So once all these voltages are converted, then we can go for the comparator operation. As we can see that on the negative terminal of the comparators, we are having the different values, and on the positive terminal of the comparator we are having a fixed value, that is the analog voltage, analog applied voltage. So if that analog input is greater than the VR voltage, okay, then output will be high. Okay. So this thing we have to understand very carefully. The highest voltage among these voltages is 13 by 14 volt, okay, and the lowest voltage is 1 by 14 volt. So if I see that if VA is greater than equal to VR7, if the analog voltage applied on this terminal VA is greater than VR7, then we need not to check other comparisons, because the applied voltage is greater than the greatest voltage. So VR7 is the greatest voltage among VR1 and VR7. So if my applied analog input VA is greater than VR7, then I need not to check the comparator outputs of all comparator outputs, because if this C7 is generating 1, then C6 to C1 will definitely be generating 1. Okay. Similarly, if we check this one for this VR4, okay, if my analog voltage is greater than VR4, so I will not be checking for VR3, VR2, VR1, because they are all less than VR4. So comparators C4 onwards, C4, C3, C2, C1 will be giving me high outputs. But if the output is, if the analog input is greater than this VR4 but less than VR5, then for this 7, 6 and 5 we will be getting a 0 output. Okay. So in this way we have to check these comparison for all the structures. So this is the same thing. So we can prepare a table. If my analog voltage VA is greater than VR7, we have to make such an arrangement that if it is greater than, VA is greater than VR1 but less than VR2, okay, or we can mention this sign as well. So if this is the case, then comparator outputs C7, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2, C1 and C0. If we go for this VR1, it is greater than VR1, that means definitely, so if these are the comparators, C0 is not required, then C1 will be generating 1 and all these outputs will be 0, because we need not be checking for all the comparison, because once it is less than VR2, so it will definitely be less than VR3, VR4, VR5 and up to VR7. Similarly, for the second case, if VA is greater than equal to VR2, if it is greater than equal to VR by 2 but less than VR3, that means 1 and 2 will be giving me high outputs, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all these will be giving me 0 outputs. Okay. So from that point of view, if you prepare this table, we will be getting something like this. Okay. So if my voltage is greater than VR1, greater than 0 but less than VR1, so in that case all the comparator outputs will be 0, and if it is between 1 and 2, then C1 will be generating 1. If it is between 2 and 3, then both 1 and 2 will be generating 1. If it is between 3 and 4, then 3, 2 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 will be generating 1. Similarly, we can check the last case. If the output is greater than VR7 and but still less than the voltage V which has been applied externally, so in that case all the comparator outputs are high. Okay. So in that case we can simply, the decoder is not that binary decoder in which there are in multiple inputs, and for that inputs there are reduced number of outputs. We can have any logic inside the we can have any decoding logic. So from going by the decoding logic, in the first row we can check that there is no high value. That means there is no high value, that means it corresponds to 0. So 0 translates to 000 in binary. Okay. Then we can check that C1 is 1, that means there is single comparator which is giving me high output. So that's why we are having 0, 0, 1. Similarly, we are having two outputs which are giving, two comparators which are giving me high output, then it corresponds to 0, 1, 0. Then 3 comparator outputs are high, then it becomes 0, 1, 1. Similarly, 4 comparator outputs are high, then it becomes 1, 0, 0. 5 comparator outputs are high, 1, 0, 1. 6 comparator outputs are high, 1, 1, 0. 7 comparator outputs are high, 1, 1, 1. Okay. So for this arrangement of flash type ADC, we are getting these different outputs. Okay. So from that point of view, we can check that the analog voltage is getting converted into decimal. Sorry, analog is getting converted into digital by this flash comparator. So we can see that it is giving me straightforward advantage that the processing time is the fastest. Okay. So we are having the fastest processing time in this flash type converter, and the comparison we will be making in our next topics of this in the next lecture, in which we will be covering other different types of A to D converters. So with this we come to the end. Thank you.